Welcome to the DNX podcast, the number one resource for entrepreneurs, nomads, and impact-driven souls. And I am your coach, Silvia Christman. Welcome back, everyone. I'm here today with my friend Tiffany Vervile, and she was introduced to me by somebody who told me her story, and I was so blown away by it that I had to reach out and I had to have her on this podcast. So thank you for making the time. Hello, Tiffany. How are you?
Hi, Silvia. Great to be here. Thanks for having me. I'm great.
Thank you so much. So I learned about your story through a friend that you had a crazy accident while you were in Malaysia, and then you woke up blind on your 32nd birthday. What was that like?
Oh, this is a loaded question.
Yeah.
What was it like? Oh my gosh. I mean, as you can imagine, it was very confusing, full of fear, massive amounts of uncertainty. When I woke up like that, I had absolutely no clue what was happening to me,
So you literally just woke up and you couldn't see anything at all?
Yeah. 4 a.m. in the morning, I sat straight up in bed. My eyes were burning, like in so much pain. My whole entire body was shaking, and it happened in an instant. So, come to find out, it must have been some sort of bacteria or amoeba. They still actually don't know exactly what happened to me, but because it was just a freak case. They've never seen this before in both eyes. When I flew to Boston, which is one of the best corneal specialists in the nation, they had absolutely no answers for me. They had no clue, and I sort of became this science experiment for them through the process because they had never seen a case like this ever.
Interesting.
Pretty scary.
Yeah, that is really scary. And so did you think you were going to be blind forever?
Yeah, I mean, well, that was a possibility, but throughout all of it, the possibility that I could heal myself was also available. So through the process, I just chose that was going to be my possibility. The doctors were telling me, they weren't giving me any answers. They were saying, hey, this could be a permanent thing. We're really unsure because, like I said, they had absolutely no idea what happened to me. I actually had medication that I started in Malaysia at the hospital when I got rushed to the hospital there. And so it was nearly impossible by the time I got to the US 48 hours later for them to tell what sort of bacteria or amoeba or fungus or whatever was happening. And so yeah, I mean, they said, hey, this could be a permanent thing. And I said, hey, well, I don't accept that. And I know of
not
people,
good enough.
Yeah, no way, right? Like, no way. And I was doing research and I was just hearing about all these people that have healed themselves from crazy things, cancer and all sorts of things. And I said, if that's a possibility for other people, it has to be a possibility for me. And I just had to empower myself to figure it out.
Now, were you alone? Did you wake up alone or were you with somebody and that could help you out when you woke up in Malaysia?
No, thank goodness I wasn't by myself. I don't even know. That would have made it 20 times harder. But my partner was there with me, and he was sort of, obviously freaking out as well, but we had really great friends there. They came right away, picked us up, brought us to the hospital, and, they did their thing.
They did their thing.
Whatever that was. I don't really, to be honest with you, I don't necessarily remember all of it because I was so in shock, like my body was convulsing. It was crazy.
Wow.
You just never know.
You just never know. Life is really interesting. You don't know what's around the corner, and it could be the most interesting experience that will then set you on a whole new trajectory. Do you think it fundamentally changed who you are?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. I mean, through the whole thing, I really learned so much about myself. I learned, that I really believe that every human being has all these qualities to pull out, in times like this, when a divine storm comes in or, something's happening in their life that isn't the greatest thing, they can pull out the courage and to keep going and really change their mind to support them in whatever outcome they want. We all have this power within us, but I think that, people don't realize that until they get sort of slapped aside the face with something like this in their life. And so it really did change me as a person. And I feel like this is a lot of work that I do with my clients now. So it sort of led me to my bigger purpose and passion, because at the time when this had happened, I was going in a completely different direction. So it sort of shined the light on how I wanted to step up and serve others, to be able to not have to go through a situation this extreme in order to, know what they're made of.
Right. So what were you doing before and what do you do now?
So, well, this is funny because, when we set out to be digital nomads, had no idea how to make money in the online space, had no idea how to travel the world. I was just at a certain point in my life where I knew there was something more for me out there, and I was not fulfilled. I had all the things, but basically just said, hey, I have to listen to this voice inside of me that says, okay, well, there's more for you. And so basically, long story short, I knew I wanted to travel the world, and I knew I saw people making money online and they were able to support themselves. So I said, hey, I'm going to figure out how to do this. Bought a one-way ticket to Thailand. And in the meantime, trying to figure out what I wanted to do online, because there's so many different ways that you can make money, right? Which I didn't realize until I left and started to actually dive into the research. I met some friends through traveling that owned online e-commerce stores, and they were doing really well and they were super successful. And I said, okay, well, with my background with sales and being an entrepreneur, I was like, hey, I really love this business model. And basically decided I was going to do that and build an online store, had my niche and everything. And then I went to a Vipassana retreat for 14 days and meditated. I wanted to kind of clear my space in my head because I had been traveling a lot. And then I went there, and literally the day after I got home was my birthday. And that's when this happened. So as you could imagine, it was just crazy. And when I was going through all of this, I said to myself, I had to have clarity around what I really wanted. So not just healing myself. Obviously, I knew that I wanted to do that. But I knew that I didn't want this situation in my life to hold me back from traveling the world, because over the last 7 or 8 months, I was just fully alive, and I knew that this was going to help me to thrive in my life instead of survive. And so I knew I wanted to be able to travel the world, still blind or not. I knew I wanted to still build an online e-commerce store. And that was my plan before this happened. And so I said to myself, just sat myself down at my mom's. I remember that day because, the doctors, we just got back from the doctors. They weren't giving us answers. As you could imagine, my family and friends around me were all freaking out. And through all of that, I had to just say, hey, listen, if I'm not going to be able to get certainty from outside of myself, I need to really, empower myself to create that certainty for me. And I just, said to myself, I'm going to do all these things, travel the world, build the business, heal myself, no matter what, and show up for this every single day. And I went after building the e-commerce store while I was trying to figure out how to live my life this way, because it wasn't till about 6 months later did I have even a little bit of vision come back to me.
Right. Wow. That is such an incredible story. So what actually made you want to become a digital nomad?
Oh my gosh. So I think
because I think there's so many people out there, especially people that are listening to us, that are playing with that idea and trying to figure out what does it mean to them, right? And how do you actually do it?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I basically was at a point in my life where I had built up all the things, all the things that Western society sort of teaches us growing up that, hey, you're going to work hard. You're an entrepreneur or you work in corporate, you climb the ladder, you do the white picket fence thing, you do the kid thing, you do the cars, you have the house, and you're going to come to this point in your life and they paint this picture of this destination that you come to, and you're all of a sudden, in your life, you're going to be fulfilled and happy and everything's just going to be grand. And I went that path. I chose to be an entrepreneur. I had built up a massive business. And I had all the things, except for the children. I don't have any kids, but I had all the things besides that. And I still woke up and I was finding myself feeling really unfulfilled. Like I built this great business, but it wasn't my purpose. I wasn't really passionate about that. And I went after it because I knew I could do it and I knew I could make great money doing it. And I just sort of had that call. And I think a lot of people have the call, I'm meant for more. There's something bigger for me. At some point, maybe people get bored with what's happening in their life. And so it just intrigued me. I always knew I wanted to travel. I carried around this book with me ever since 18. And I had all the places I wanted to go to travel in the world. And I had only been on maybe 2 or 3 of these places and on vacation, right? Not as a digital nomad, really consuming the culture, really understanding how different people live all over the world. And I really just started to do the research and I'm like, wow, this is a thing. People are doing this full time. And I just knew I love to travel. I mean, it was in my bones. And every time I did, I was so high vibe. And I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to go after it. Like, period. And I bought the ticket and sold everything.
That sounds so exciting. I've done it, to sell everything, buy a ticket and start over. Were you scared?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Like really scared, because not only did I not know how to build a business online, I had no clue how to support myself. I had no clue how to travel like that, so I was just massively researching all the travel blogs and how do you do this with the visas and how do you, how does this whole thing work? What backpack do you buy? I mean, just all the things, all the questions. And yeah, of course, I was scared. I mean, it was literally taking a leap into the unknown, but I pulled and worked my courage muscle and said, hey, listen, like, I believe in my ability to figure it out. And I think this is a massive quality that entrepreneurs have. We just believe in our ability to figure it out. I think that happens over time with exercising that courage muscle and really being in the thick of not knowing. And then you sort of come out of the muddy water and you're like, wow, like I did that. And you gain more confidence as you sort of go through these things. And yeah, I mean, I did it.
You did.
I figured it out along the way,
Oh, yeah. It is quite an exhilarating feeling when you realize that there was this daydream you had that then all of a sudden became a reality, right?
Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, when I landed in Bangkok for that first time and just stepped off the airplane, I was like, holy crap, I am in another land. Like, what did I do? And then like the calm sort of settles in and you're like, oh man, this is so fun. Look at all of this stuff. Like, what is this? And you just become this kid in a candy shop, I believe. And over the next 8 months, I was in a new place every month. I mean, Malaysia, Bali, Singapore, Thailand. I mean, just all over Southeast Asia because I couldn't get enough of newness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Have you burned out of travel? I mean, was there a time where that changed, that you had seen a lot of newness and you needed some more stability?
Oh, absolutely. I feel like we are at that point now. We've been traveling for about 3 or 4 years. I can't even keep track, but it's become to the point we've been in Mexico for about 1.5 years now. And we sort of just use this as a slight home base and we travel from here. Because it's difficult when you're chasing internet all the time and trying to run a business. We had built the e-commerce store to be a 7-figure business. So we have a team and I'm also a coach now, a high performance coach. So I've got all my clients and just trying to chase the internet and really communicate with your team can get stressful. And so I think we really appreciate a home base where we can just say, hey, let's go here for the weekend and just pack this bag, not have to pack up everything to go there. And I think that everyone sort of, as they start to travel, finds their own way. I know a lot of people that have been traveling for 5-10 years that just are in a new place every 3 months. And kudos to them, hats off to them, but it's just not my style. And I think that you figure out all of these things through the process of doing it,
Yeah. Yeah, I've, I started traveling as a backpacker 17, maybe 18 years ago now.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's a long time.
Long time.
Like, that's a lot of double digits there.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. But you have kind of a home base now, yeah, or no?
I've had home bases, but I'm 100% a slow man. I don't. Like, that whole idea of I'm a digital nomad now and I travel all around and I don't have a base is like, yeah, no. That sounded exciting when I was 22.
Yeah.
No, I mean, now I do go different places, like either, I do spend the majority of my time in New York because I love it here, but not in the winter times. And so I just find a place for 2, 3, 4 months at a time that I use as my base for the same reason you mentioned. It's all about making sure you have the time to maintain a business.
Oh, absolutely. And have fun, because it's a lifestyle, right? So we set out to do this and to block the time and schedule all the fun things too. I mean, it definitely, I don't know. I wouldn't live any other way, I don't think. No. Now that I've been in it.
It's like I don't necessarily need to have my own apartment, but I will rent the same apartment for extended periods of time.
Yeah. No, I definitely hear that. Yep. Yeah. That's what we're doing here. So
if somebody was listening and they wanted to get started, what do you think is the number one thing somebody can do to get started?
Get started with traveling and being sort of a digital nomad, or get started with a business?
Either. I mean, it depends on what they want to do, but yeah. Well, if traveling and being a digital nomad leads to location independent business, they probably want to start with travel.
Yeah. Well, I would just say, get really clear on what that looks like for you, and don't stress out about having like the perfect plan, because you're going to, like, I bought all the things every blog told me I needed when I set out for my first, rendezvous with this traveling thing. And I didn't even use any of this stuff, right? Like maybe the rain jacket was the staple that I actually went back to, but you don't need to have it planned out perfectly. I think it's just a matter of understanding, hey, where do I want to go? How much, money do I need to have saved up if you don't already have a business that can support you doing the online thing and traveling, and just buying the ticket, and you're going to be able to figure it out along the way. If you don't like it, you can always buy the ticket home, right? And if you're at a point where you're at a crossroad and you're saying to yourself, hey, I'm not happy, I don't feel fulfilled, I see all these people, and you're like stalking people on Instagram that do this thing, then it's the nudge that you really just need to leap out into the unknown. I mean, and once you start to do it, like right now, you could plop me in an airport and blindfold me, and I could just choose and fly anywhere in the world by myself, and I would figure it out, right? I think that just comes with doing it. So I think once you just get started, it's not as scary. I think just taking that first leap is the ultimate scariest. And I think that also applies to business. When you want to become an entrepreneur, say you're not today, you're in a 9-to-5, you want to transition, you have all these ideas and that you want to put out there in the world, and create your purpose business or your passion business. I think it's the same thing. It's really just scary, that first big leap. But once you do it and you gain more confidence through the process, and you exercise that courage muscle. It's going to get bigger. It's going to get stronger over time. And I think that's just how you get started. You just need to buy the ticket and do the thing.
Just take the plunge. Do you think people should transition slowly, or is it okay to just say, I got to get out of here and I'm going to start with a ticket?
I started with a ticket, so that was my way to do it, but I don't think there's necessarily a, right or wrong way or a better way. I think, whatever resonates with an individual. If you do want to be more planned out and transition slowly, and maybe you take a couple of trips to dip your toes in, see if you really enjoy it, see if it is the thing you want to do, great. At least just get going, like stop stalking on Instagram and start doing kind of thing, right? And I think that also applies for business as well. I see a lot of people and they wait a long time and they look at all the other people and it sort of holds them back because, but I think you can turn jealousy and being envious of people into fuel for the fire to get you going. It's just a mind shift there.
Yeah. What is something that really fuels your fire?
Oh my gosh. Transformation. So just working with my clients and seeing them step up for what they really want in their life and going after it and really being able to help them facilitate that change and help them pull out those strengths that they have, the willpower, the courage, helping them get super clarity on all the things they desire to have, and just watching them manifest the most amazing outcomes in their life. Like there's nothing better. Like I'm transitioning to go into this business full time, and just empowering my team more to really take over the e-commerce side of things, because this is what fuels my soul, is being able to get on these calls and seeing these women and men just changing their life. I mean, it's crazy.
Wow. Yeah. So is there anything you'd like to share with our audiences? Where can they find you if they feel inspired by you, they want to learn more about you? Is there anything you're working on?
Yeah, you can come over to the website. It's tiffanyjulie.com. And then all of my social media is I am Tiffany Julie. So come on over, and if you want to just direct message me, private message me, I love to meet people and have conversations, so we can hop on a call and see where you're at and get you going in the right direction.
Love that. Thank you so much for your time. We're also going to post those links below this podcast so that you can find Tiffany. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Silvia.
That's it for today. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for your ongoing support. Before I leave you, I want to invite you into my world. Please go check out dnxcommunity.com. This is where you'll find the other nomads and evaders of convention. We'll see you there. And if you're interested in our English-speaking events, go and check out dnxglobal.com. You'll find the link below this podcast as well. And if you have time, one last favor, please go to iTunes, look for Silvia Chrisman or look for the DNX podcast and leave a review. Thank you so much, lovely people, and I'll talk to you next time.